Everyone, and welcome to another edition of Shooting the Breeze. As always, I am the Soda, and as always, I am joined by Ben Rayner. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, it's nowhere near as bad as what's going on in Texas, and I just want to say this: my heart goes with you. As someone who lives in Canada, I understand what happens when that goes down. So, I feel for you, and I hope you guys go through this 100% okay. Um, but enough about that. We have a very special guest on today who I just met for the first time beforehand, but seems like he knows his shit, and that is Aaron from the show SchmoesTalk, correct?
Yeah, one of many. TMG Entertainment is the channel I'm a part of. I do a couple different things with them. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's always great to talk to fellow Schmodown reactors. How long have you been in the game doing it?
So I've been around the actual fan community. So I've been watching the Schmodown since literal day one.
Oh, so you're like season one
Yeah.
OG.
And so in terms of the fan community, I've been very in and out over the last few years. So like obviously if you want to talk about like the fan leagues where all these players are coming from, I wouldn't say we're close enough to say like, oh, I'm best friends with them, but Robert, Chance, Paul, a lot of them I knew before they went into it. And in terms of my participation, I haven't played in a lot of the leagues that are more recent. But if you scroll back through a channel called Take Three Productions and find the old like fan movie trivia Schmodown matches when there was just one league, I participated in that. So that's kind of I've been around for a long time. I just don't always put myself out on the front lines. I kind of sit back a little bit.
Very nice. So what made you want to come out and
well, so I guess a little bit of background on TMG Entertainment. One of the show that kind of started that channel was Movie Battleground, and it was a movie debate show where we essentially looked at what the fan movie trivia Schmodown did and said, let's do that, but to movie fights. And then it just so happened a few months after we launched the show, the controversy with Screen Junkies went down, which really helped our viewership because the show we ripped off went off the air, which is kind of, it helps out a little bit. And so that was the show we did. And I did that for a little over 2 years, kind of helping spearhead that.
Yeah.
And then what happened was kind of life took over and I made a decision to step away. And it was just kind of a gradual thing of like, well, I step away from the thing I'm most involved in and, a little bit here and a little bit there. And all of a sudden I'm kind of stepped away from everything. And it's, it was never a thing of like ill will towards anybody. I still talk to a ton of the people that I used to be involved with. It's all good communications, but it was kind of a natural step away. So May of this year, obviously with everything in the pandemic happening, I went from having a full-time college schedule and 2 jobs to having nothing at that moment. And so I kind of just reached back out. The guy who owns the channel and helps run it, Matt Beer, I reached back out to him and I was like, hey, if you guys need help with anything, I'd be happy to come in and be a part of it. And so that was at that moment they were starting up a trivia league called TMG Trivia. So I've helped out with the camera side things there, hosting, producing matches. And then I've started, we're in the process of putting together kind of our own little podcast network on that channel. And I've taken a bit of I don't like saying it because the title sounds douchey, but like executive producer role where it's like getting the people who are interested in starting a podcast and kind of getting them going and getting the shows going. So it's been a lot of fun, because I was involved with the community for so long. And when you step away for 14 months, there's a lot of rotation. So like I said, like someone like Ben, he's a name that I recognized from the Facebook page when I first met him, but I never met him back in the day. So it's like, I'm still meeting, obviously tonight with you, I'm still meeting people who have been around for years that I never met because I've just never really gone on things. So it's entertaining for me in that way to get to meet people, like someone Ben knows very well. Ryan Payne was another person who now I consider a friend. And it's, just a picture behind a screen that I've known for years that now I actually know. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Like it's pretty much a similar story to me. So mine actually predates you by a few months, but my friend Louis, who started one of the 4 of us have started Schmoes of the North. He reached out on the MTS trivia page one day and was like, "Hey, is there any Canadians out there that want to do something?" Because I was thinking the same way as him. It's just like you don't really see Canada represented outside of like Brandon Meyer or Janine or whatever. And then there was nothing.
Is Janine Canadian?
Sorry,
is Janine Canadian?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's Canadian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, she's Canadian. So
That's
yeah,
why she's so nice.
we wanted to present a different take on things. So that's pretty much how that started. And then yeah, slowly meeting everybody through here. Like Ben, like you said, somebody you recognize from the group. Me, I used to see him in like super chats and all that stuff. So his name would always pop up. So I was like, oh, I know this guy. And yeah, getting to meet all these pretty cool people. And I mentioned it last night in my Schmoes chat. They don't feel the same way. I still find it very weird when on the people you may know section on Facebook, Schmoedown competitors pop up and you're like,
Oh yeah.
I get a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like, I don't belong with this.
Yeah, to me, I kind of had the opposite feeling where it's like, so this is one of the cool stories. When the Schmoedown came to Orlando, I got the backstage ticket because I was like, I don't travel. I don't travel often. If I'm gonna go to one, I might as well meet some of the people.
Where are you situated, if you don't mind me asking?
Orlando, Florida, like 20 minutes outside of Disney.
Lucky bastard.
Not last year. I think we're the only state in the country that didn't actually shut down. We just kind of slowed a little bit.
Well, no, what I'm saying, lucky bastard, just because of how close to proximity you are to a lot of things I like.
Oh no! It's incredibly lucky. I worked on Disney.
Lucky son of a bitch.
I worked on Disney property for about 3 years. It's not as glamorous as you think, but it is fun.
Very, very cool.
But yeah, so when I went to the show, I met. Because Chance was playing there. So when I go backstage, I meet Chance, and it's like he's in like, oh, I'm meeting fans mode. And there was a moment where we like high-fived each other, recognized each other, and it was like, oh fuck, I know you. Like, and it was weird for me. And then I said it like I remember when Robert first played, I texted him and I said like, congratulations on the win. It is so weird, like because a lot of people don't know this, but early movie Battleground days, Robert was a part of our admin team. So like I know Robert pretty well. So to like see him doing that is like that's fucking cool, man. Like that's really cool. And even people behind the scenes, like someone I used to have a good relationship with, it's just, through time you haven't talked as much, but one of the writers, Jeremy Adams, who is again a really great guy, and they're doing a lot of good work.
That's a name I've never heard before. I didn't know he was a writer.
He's not as camera frontward anymore. He's not one of the people out doing interviews and stuff. That's more like DJ.
I mean, like even as people behind the snes, like you hear of Megan and you hear all that. It's a name I've never heard before.
Yeah, quiet guy.
Yeah, apparently.
Also, so one of the things I'm not great at, which is one of the things I hope through an interview show I will get better at, is actually learning who does what. You are the schmoes from the north that I have heard so much about.
Yes, gotcha. I am one of the 4 schmoes of the north. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I did just send you a follow because one of the things is because of all the matches and stuff like that, we are going to try to bring on some people. So I'm going to talk to you guys and probably reach out to you about being on an episode or something.
Cool, absolutely. Live on air. Fuck it.
Of course. Yeah, because you sound like you know your shit about Schmoedown.
I try. I'm naturally growing up. I was the nerd who liked school, and so I've kind of moved that into everything else where when I like something, I usually, whether it's through like research or just paying attention, I usually try and stay informed on it.
Yeah.
I'm the guy, like I have multiple friends, like real life friends who aren't movie buffs necessarily the way I am, but like we've reached a point where they will literally go see something on my recommendation because they're like, listen, whether you're sending me to something brilliant or something that's like so bad it's kind of funny, you've never steered me wrong because you see it's just who I am. So I like to be informed.
My friends. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I like they don't like, to be honest. Yeah. So
I've tested the boundaries a couple times. I don't know if you guys remember this little gem called Arctic Dogs.
I've never heard
it's absolutely terrible. But I took people to it, and like we walk in, it was like me and 2 of my friends, and we're early 20s, and we walk in, and it's us. Yeah, it's us and like a dad and his 5-year-old, and then like a grandma asleep in the front with a kid. And they look at me and they go, "Why are we in here?" And I just go, "Listen, this is like Norm of the North. This is going to be so terrible that it'll be hilarious." And I are you looking at the cast?
I'm looking at the cast. I'm looking at the concept. Yeah.
Dude, so let me just pitch it to you this way. James Franco was clearly high while recording his lines, and he's doing a French accent the whole film. That's all I need to say.
As a French Canadian, I'm offended.
It's terrible, but it's funny as hell. Like, there are times where that character sounds confused when the line he's saying is not supposed to be confused. And I just imagine that was Franco trying to understand the script, and they just didn't care to do another take.
Oh my god.
Also, the
sounds like something I
soundtrack,
would enjoy fucking high.
the soundtrack is all Jeremy Renner music.
That's right. He does music. I forgot about that.
It's all, none of it was made for the film, but it's all Jeremy Renner music. I mean, it's a weird little gem of a film, but like I just remember walking to that theater and they're thinking, dude, what are you taking us to? And I was just like, just trust me, all right, watch.
Yeah, no kidding. This sounds like a movie that was made because somebody owed somebody a favor.
Honestly,
Hey,
I think everybody owed everything. The only person who legitimately should be in that cast is Heidi Klum. Everybody else is like, why are you
Which is
here?
weird because you see the cast and that's the one that stands out as what the fuck?
Right. You look at that cast and you think it's like a Pixar film. It's like, no.
Okay, so here's the cast for you, Ben. So you've got Jeremy Renner, Heidi Klum, James Franco, John Cleese, Michael Madsen for your Reservoir Dogs fans, Laurie Holden from Walking Dead, Angelica Houston, Alec Baldwin. It's just like what?
Okay, funny enough, I can see Alec Baldwin, and I can see who is the other person's name? There was somebody else, man.
John Cleese?
Yeah, I can see John Cleese doing that. Don't forget
Otto von Walrus.
Don't forget John
Oh,
Cleese.
and the other one for me is and I don't know if it's just what we're reading. Omar Sy is in it.
Yeah, see, I didn't bring up the name because I'm not familiar with him.
So his biggest role is in the French film, I think it's called The Untouchables. That was based on Kevin.
Days of Future Past.
He was he was Bishop. Yep, he was in Jurassic World. He was the black gentleman with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, the one with Chris Pratt. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been in a couple big things too. It's not, I mean, he's not a name, but it's not like he's some small actor.
Oh, he voiced Hot Rod, right on.
Did he really?
Yeah, he voiced Hot Rod in The Last Night.
That's a shame.
I haven't seen anything past the third one, so I can't.
Oh,
they don't get better.
No, I know that, and I think
that's funny.
Oh fuck! I mean, the third one was just so bad. I'm like, ugh. I came back for Bumblebee, which I'm glad for.
Bumblebee was fucking great.
Dude, watch that in 4K.
Bumblebee,
beautiful in 4K.
Oh, Bumblebee's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so good looking.
I hope they make a sequel to that.
I hope we do too.
I'd say if you're gonna watch any of them, I would. The fifth one's just bad, but honestly, the fourth one is almost funny bad with some of the things they do in it.
Yeah, I just listened to Dan Merle's episode last week of all my movies on it.
Oh, did he? Oh, it's like the fact that they specifically wrote the boyfriend girlfriend to be 21 and 17, and then writing a scene to justify why it's legal is absolutely bonkers. The Budweiser scene is incredible.
Yeah, the product placement, the random going to China. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kelsey
Grammer looking like he's dead.
This is going to be a hot take. The age difference of 21 to 17 doesn't bother me because my parents are 19 years difference between them.
Oh, the age difference itself doesn't bother me. It's like, because what's her name? I believe her name's Nicola Peltz.
Yeah.
She clearly looks over 18. So why not just make her 18 years old? Like, why make a scene? Because, like, I don't know if he talks about it in depth in all my movies, but there's a scene where he's like brandishes like a card with a law on it. And it's like, Michael Bay, this is like almost you justifying why you stared at Megan Fox for 5 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, this is weird, dude.
Which I'm not going to lie, when that movie came out, I've been, 18? The first one?
In 07?
Trinity. I was Trinity. Oh.
Did that come out in 07?
Yeah, 07.
Okay, so 20. So I wasn't complaining at that time.
No. And she's also over 18, so that one wasn't weird, but still.
Yeah. So, anyways, we actually did have a topic that we wanted to discuss a little bit. This is actually
ahead of ourselves.
Happened where we just started talking and just now you said because you had seen that we were doing the How I Met Your Mother, you wanted to talk sitcoms. Now, you're a fan of How I Met Your Mother.
I am actually. Over quarantine, I did a rewatch of it. So
nice. It is my favorite show, and you will like this. I own the ducky tie.
Do you? Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. I wore it at my high school reunion.
No.
You're waiting for the one person who's like, I know what that is.
Actually, there were a few people, but it's my favorite tie, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I haven't seen these guys in years. I'm gonna see if I can bring up that picture that my friend took. My friend took this picture, and she looked because it was me and one of my best friends, and she's like, "That picture pretty much encapsulates your entire friendship right there."
I mean, it's a hell of a tie. There's no way you don't notice it. Like if you just glance across the room and you see that, you're gonna notice it.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, but yeah, I love. So I'm weird when it comes to television. Like I love film and I can watch film anywhere, but I don't know what it is with television. More dramatic pieces or like darker, more serious pieces, really struggle to pull me in. Like there's a lot of dramatic work that I haven't seen, and it ranges from like Game of Thrones to Breaking Bad, where it's like I've seen little bits and pieces, but it unless I make an effort to watch it, I struggle to get pulled in full on. And
why is that doing that?
Oh,
that's my high school reunion.
I like how there's not even like a blazer or anything to cover it. It's just nope, here it is, baby. That's the time.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, well, in all honesty, like I live in a small town, like it's 90,000 people, but whatever. It's still a small town. So a lot of the people from my high school reunion, because of where I work, I see on an almost daily basis. So it's like, not whatever. And the ones that come back into town, they know who the hell I am. They know what I'm kind of a goofball I could be. So it was just like, whatever.
Yeah, no. Especially if you see the people all the time. It's like, this is just a special night where we get to see each other.
Yeah. And, it wasn't until the alcohol started flowing that we kind of started to mingle. But yeah, anyways, back to the sitcom thing. I am with you to a certain degree. Like, I have watched Game of Thrones all the way through. Breaking Bad, I've only ever seen the first episode. And
okay.
Yeah, I am with you. The dramatic stuff at this point in my life, I do have a harder time watching. Like, I did try, like Ben, when we were doing our Smallville talk months ago, I did legit try to watch it, but I just couldn't get into it right at this point.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's because because of where I am in my life, I like lightheartedness to take me away.
Yeah. Yeah, and like for me, I think what a lot of it comes from is like, because I can watch anything in film. Here's a sentence not many people get to say. I saw 3 movies in a theater this week because there's a dead enough theater that's open near me that not a lot of people go to, so I take advantage of it and I go.
So what'd you see?
I saw our friend, the Jason Segel Casey Affleck film.
Nice.
I saw Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, how was that?
It was great.
I want to see that, but right now I'm like, I don't think I can afford the $25 to rent it.
On HBO, if you have HBO Max.
In Canada, we don't have HBO Max. We have to pay it at a premium. So when Wonder Woman came out, I'd pay $30 to watch it.
Dang. Oh, that's unfortunate. That movie's not worth $30.
I didn't mind it. I
didn't mind it either.
I'll watch it again.
I didn't mind it either. I wouldn't have paid $30.
But I will say Soul was the better one.
Which one?
Soul.
Soul is better. Yeah. Do you guys have HBO Max in Canada? Weird tangent. Do you guys get it?
Okay, so our distribution system is a little bit different than your guys's. Pretty much when it comes to distribution up here, it is mostly controlled by like 1 or 2 media companies, and they have their own stakes and their own things. So like our CTV, which is one of our big channels up here, they have their own streaming website. So all the stuff that's on CTV, you can watch it on there. That's why things that you guys will have on Netflix in States, we won't be able to get them. Like for example, the show Perfect Strangers, which is a show I love. I've talked to Ben about it. It's on Hulu, which we also don't have up here. So unfortunately, I can't stream it. I had to buy every single freaking season. And so things like the WWE Network, when it was launched, 2014. We didn't get it in Canada until 2016.
Wow.
And the only way for you to get it is you have to get it through your cables provider. Unlike in the States where it's just like a Netflix type thing. Disney Plus was one of the few ones where we actually got a day of. I don't recall that ever happening before.
Yeah, and that's because Disney balled out a bunch of cash and said, "No, you want this."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So glad they did. I feel bad for example, like our friend 50 who doesn't have it.
Yeah, no, that's harsh. But yeah, so my thing is like with film. And the third one I saw was I don't know how known it is. I don't know how marketed it was, but a small little indie called Supernova.
No, I can't.
It's Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci play a gay couple that live in England, and Stanley Tucci's dying from dementia.
I would watch that just for the word Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth as a gay couple.
And honestly, like, because I know without going too deep down a hole, I especially amongst people my age, there's been this big revelation of people of a certain type should play certain roles to give exposure to different communities. As two very very straight men, they play a very convincing couple. They're both that good. They play a very convincing couple. But that's the point, right? Is Dakota Johnson dies of cancer, the murder of Fred Hampton, and a man dying of dementia are three very dark topics to see a movie about in 1 week.
Oh, shit, but they sound like great movies, especially.
They're all very good.
Because you get a little snippet of that story in the Trial of Chicago 7.
Yes.
Right? Which I would probably say is one of my favorite movies of 2020.
It's in my top, if not my top 5, it's in my top 10.
It was definitely my top 5. I just can't remember where it was placed.
It's either 5 or 6 for me. I just don't remember offhand. So,
but anyways, back to sitcoms. So, what is your favorite sitcom?
See, that's a hard. If we're just talking like straight sitcoms,
just traditional camera setup, 20-something minute.
I would definitely like How I Met Your Mother is definitely up there as one of my favorites. If I'm trying to think of some more offhand, because a lot of them I haven't seen. I do love a bit of an older show, especially for modern audiences, but I do love Cheers and Frasier. I think those are both great shouts. Those are both great. Another one for me, quality-wise, I can admit it's not as good as others. But I have a lot of love for it because it's one that I would watch a lot when I was younger, which I probably shouldn't have, but That 70s Show, I think, is a really solid show.
Yes, That 70s Show, I think, is one that gets lost in the shuffle quite a bit when you compare it.
And it's unfortunate that it ended on such a clear thud with that last season.
Oh, God,
but I think everything, and honestly, like I'll throw out a top 5. If I were putting a 5th one in my top 5.
By the way, Ben, that is one I actually do own every season of That 70s Show.
That 70s Show? Okay. Here, if I'm throwing out a top 5, if I'm thinking offhand here, the 5th one that would probably go into my top 5, none of these are ranked offhand, would be, speaking of another show that most people think ended with a thud, Scrubs.
Yes, that's actually, we were talking about that. Is another one we're going to be discussing on our recapping the past. Because one of my closest friends is a nurse, and he says it is the most accurate depiction of that profession on screen.
Yeah, no, it feels like every visit to the hospital I've had. Like, it does feel very realistic. And I'm in the No, it's not. And I'm in the minority. I actually don't think the last season's all that terrible. I just think it's about how you look at it. As a final season, it's an awful, awful season. If you look at it for what it was meant to be, which is the first season of a spin-off show, it's the first season trying to find its legs. But it's just unfortunate that the show, its 8th season ends with such a great finale, and then it's like, and then there's 13 more episodes where it's almost like it's like the Return of the King. It just wouldn't end.
I really think that it was my first exposure to Dave Franco.
To Dave Franco, yeah.
See, I actually never watched the final season, so he's in that season.
He's in it, yeah.
Nice. I like me some Dave Franco.
I found him super annoying and douchey. And for the longest time, he looked so familiar to me. And I didn't know who he was at that time. And then the Clover Cry, you told me, yep, that's Dave Franco. I'm like, holy shit, he looks just like the same.
Yeah.
And honestly, I like that last season in particular. Like I would say to people, even if you've never like someone like you who's never seen it, honestly, I don't think it's bad enough where I would say like, oh, definitely don't watch it. Like I would say if it's ever something that interests you or piques your curiosity, I would say give it a shot. I would say where it strengthens itself is actually in the back half of the season, because what they were going for with the show was they wanted it to be about 4 newbies. But when they renewed it for a new season, they scrambled to get a bunch of the other actors to sign on for a season.
Transitional purposes or?
Well, it was more when ABC forced it to be a season 9 and not a spinoff show.
Oh, okay. So it was
So-
not originally. It wasn't supposed to be season 9.
No, so so this is a little Easter egg. In the opening of the show, in very small font, when they do like the medical slap on the X-ray slap on the screen, in very small letters, it says med school because the show is meant to be called Scrubs Med School. ABC told the creator, "You have to make this Scrubs season 9 because we paid for Scrubs, not Scrubs Med School." And so that's how it became.
Yeah, it wasn't distributed by ABC as opposed to everything else, which was NBC, right?
Yeah, they bought it at season 8. They bought it at season 8, but they bought it on a multi-season deal. So they were something like they didn't want to spin off. They wanted the original show. And so they scrambled to get a bunch of the cast back. And it was like they got McGinley for the whole season. They got Faison for the whole season. They got Ken Jenkins for most of the season. And then the rest of them were like Sarah Shulk's in it for a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Zach
I just read she was pregnant while doing that. It's like,
and they wrote that into the show. Zach Braff is only in it for the first half. For me, where it gets better is that back half of the season because they kind of figured out what they were going to do with all the cast members. Once Braff gets written out of the show and they transition it over to the new characters as leads and they don't force plots in with Braff, because at that point they have both Faison and McGinley's characters settle into being kind of what like Ken Jenkins was in the original, where they're the supporting mentor kind of thing. And once they settle into that role of helping the newer ones, it starts to kind of find its footing. But again, it's, you're if you approach it as like a show that got canned after one season due to low ratings, it's not the best show that's ever existed, but it's certainly not terrible.
Yeah. And Matt, one of the lead guys was, what's his name?
XK in Castle. I was just about to bring that up because I was like, that guy looks familiar. Oh.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
because I fucking hate that final season of that show.
Which one?
Castle.
Is that the Nathan Fillion one, right?
Now, the reason why I hate it so much is because of all the political bullshit, not the political bullshit, but all the backstage bullshit that I found out after the fact creeped its way into the show and caused the cancellation of that show. That's why what's her face Stanikatic was not signed on for what was supposed to be the final season, because her and Nathan Fillion did not get along behind the scenes to the point where they were attending couples therapy. That's why in the last 2 seasons you very rarely saw them share a scene together.
Because they couldn't stand
They fooled me because other than
their on-screen chemistry was great to the point where I was fooled, but once I read that, it was very much the glass shatter moment from How I Met Your Mother. And then with the complete abrupt ending of it, like they both get shot, it looks like they're dying, and all of a sudden you get this weird camera trick. It's 5 years later, and they're running around with their kids in the apartment, and that's how the thing ends. I'm like, what the fuck kind of ending is that?
But you need to know what I knew. Season 7 of Castle has a perfect ending on that show.
Season 8 wasn't bad, too.
No, but
Season 8's the one I hate, yeah. That's the only season I do not own on DVD.
Of which show?
Castle.
Oh, Castle, okay.
That's how much
I've never seen it, so...
That I actually highly recommend watching that. That is a perfect balance of comedy and drama. Like, it's so good. And the chemistry between the two actors, between Stanikatic and Nathan Fillion, all behind-the-scenes stuff aside, is amazing. They're especially the first 5 years.
So I was going to say, like, because the reason I had to think about that is because what I found recently, especially with trying a lot of different shows, is the ones for me that I tend to love aren't, like, I love the traditional sitcom, but I find the comedy shows I love more are the ones that don't, or aren't, like, not traditional sitcoms, but they go a little deeper. There's something more. I really like Scrubs for that. My favorite season of How I Met Your Mother is season 6, and I love it because
I'm on right now,
and I love it because it's the only, to me at least, it's the only season of the show that really gives each of its characters something to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I think especially the stuff with Marshall and his dad, like the dramatic acting he does
Yes, hands down.
And it comes to mind more so because I saw a film with him in it last night that was dramatic, and he's brilliant in that film as well.
You do know the moment where he found out his dad died was improv. He didn't know that was I think that just makes that whole scene for me right there. And then like I said to Ben when we finished taping last night, like the following episode, it's hard. I'm gonna have to combine those two episodes together because the following episode is one of the best episodes of that.
Last words, right? That's what it's called.
Last words, yeah. Because he's sitting there, it's just like, man, my dad's last words to me. He's like, hey, don't forget to watch Crocodile Dundee 3. And then all of a sudden, no, he's got a voicemail from his dad who butt down the accent, but tells him he loves him. It's like, and then the best part was he keeps it to him and his friends, and to everybody else, it's don't forget to watch Crocodile Dundee 3.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I love because
I'm just thinking about it.
Like, outside of that season, honestly, I think the show is at its peak in its first season.
Yes.
And I think that show took some, and part of it is my opinion on certain things personally. How I Met Your Mother is one of the only sitcoms I've seen that I think consistently took some real peaks and valleys. Like it kind of went like this for me. It's not like The Office, for example, is another show I really love. But The Office is like, okay, you have the first season, which is meh, and then you have like 2 through 5, which is really solid, and then you have like 6 and 7, which are not as good, but and then you have like 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, like 1 would probably be the second best season, only because it doesn't have quite as much of the dramatic stuff that 6 does.
Yeah, and also what I did notice is that Robin in season 1 is way different than Robin in like season 6.
Oh yeah, no, the character is written very differently.
Yeah.
And so it's you have that, and then like season 2 for me took a dive, and that's just because for me some of the plot points for me didn't quite work.
Like what?
Well, the biggest one for me is the handling of the breakup of Marshall and Lily.
Really, I think it was one of the better things of the show myself.
To me, what it felt like, and I think once they're back together and you see the struggles of it, I think that's what's handled well. But that initial few episodes where like the entire first episode is basically about him getting over her, and then you reintroduce her, and then there's the episode where they're like at the breakfast and they're being kind of pissy and flirty with each other, and like that type of stuff to me was just like, what was the point in ending on a cliffhanger when you were just going to have them be flirty and get back together in 6 episodes? And maybe when I think about it, it's like, okay, it's 2006 writing, it's traditional sitcom writing, and maybe I'm looking at it a little too overly critically, but it's like, from my point of view, it's like, you could have done something with that and really worked back to earn their relationship. Yeah. Whereas I don't think they earned that back till they were actually back together. And you're right. Some of that stuff is very well written, where you start to see the struggle in their relationship.
And funny enough, I think the best thing to come out of that arc doesn't involve Marshall and Lily. It's the episode, the Lily Who Stole Christmas.
Oh, the Grinch, yeah.
Like, you didn't walk out on just Marshall. You walked out on me.
Yeah.
Where he bears his feelings. It's like, no, man, you fucking hurt me too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's my point is, in the moment, like all the stuff in that particular chunk of the season I didn't love. It's the aftermath of it once they're back together. I do think they handle it better.
Okay, maybe when I'm thinking about it, it's one of the best things. Maybe that's what I am thinking of, because a lot of those moments are what come to mind when I think of the Marshall Lily breakup. Yeah.
And don't forget Swarley.
Yes, Swarley. Oh. That is one of my favorite episodes. Not just for that, but just the length Lily goes to try to fucking break up the date. some horse hunchback with a limp.
So I was gonna say, I'm curious to know what you guys have seen. So if you don't mind, I was gonna throw out like some of the more like, I don't know if I'd quite call them sitcoms, but I definitely call them comedy shows to see like what kind of fits. So to me, like the reason I hesitated on the question is because what I'd say is actually my favorite is probably one of the biggest blends of drama and comedy I've seen that you could still call a comedy. It would be the Netflix show BoJack Horseman.
I've never seen BoJack Horseman.
Me neither.
I've been told multiple times too. I just haven't.
Yeah. So what I would say for people watching that show is the first season is the roughest. Yeah. It was a situation of, it took them a bit to really find their footing on how do you handle the light versus the dark. Mm-hmm. But what I love about that show is, and a lot of it does fall on its actors, Will Arnett, Amy Sedaris. We talked about Breaking Bad. Aaron Paul's a part of the main cast.
Nice.
It's got a solid cast. It deals with different looks at depression so well. And in trying to almost find the humor in the situations with the underlying darkness of the characters, the character of BoJack Horseman, I mean, essentially, depending on the situation he's in, is essentially the living definition of a relapse. Every season is almost about him trying to take a step to become something better. And then whether it's through his friends or through happenstance or through the Hollywood system, him slowly slipping back into his ways and destroying another piece of his life. And to me, that's where, especially in the later seasons when Netflix just kind of said, kind of fuck it, just go for broke, basically. That's where the show really starts to work because, so I won't spoil anything because I would recommend that people who haven't seen it go watch it.
I'm actually, unless it's a Marvel movie, I could give spoilers. Don't bother me.
Okay, so like some of the better episodes.
I don't know about Ben though.
I don't care.
So some of the better episodes, and I won't go too much into detail, are in the later seasons, and they start doing concept episodes.
Yeah.
So like one of the episodes is a funeral episode in which BoJack is dealing with the death of his mother, and the entire 22-minute episode is a eulogy. It's camera it changes angles every once in a while, but it's camera panned on BoJack, and it's essentially Will Arnett giving a 22-minute speech going through every single emotion that he feels towards his mother dying because he had a bad childhood, and it's dealing with all those emotions, and there's sad dialogue and funny dialogue and all this, and the episode, and again, I won't spoil it just for the sake of the joke being funny, but the episode ends on a sight gag punchline to do with the funeral. And it's like, to me at least, it's a laugh out loud moment that punctuates exactly what the show is, where they just spent 20 minutes of it's just Will Arnett monologuing, running you through the gambit of emotions. But at the end of the day, it's a comedy. They ended on a gag at a funeral. And like, that's what this show is. Another one that I'd recommend, obviously, it's not just an episode you can go watch, but the second to last episode is another concept episode, and it's called
The View. Is the show over?
It's over, yes. It's ended. It ran for technically 7 seasons. They did like the part A, part B thing with the last season.
Yeah, when they do that.
So technically 7 seasons they ran for. But the second to last episode is called The View from Halfway Down, and it's a concept episode where, without again spoiling the context around it, because I would definitely recommend you guys check it out. Basically, in the third to last episode, BoJack overdoses, and in the second to last episode, if I remember correctly, except for cameos, maybe the entire rest of the cast isn't featured, and the entire episode is set in this
right now.
The entire episode is set in this purgatory setting where it's BoJack surrounded by all the people that were in his life that have passed away, whether through means related to him, like one of the girls that's there is one of the girls that was on the sitcom, because the setup is he's a former sitcom star. Okay. So one of the girls that's there was a little girl, kind of like the Mary-Kate Ashley Olsen of his sitcom, who died of an overdose related to him.
Oh.
And then there's also his parents who are there, and they died of natural causes, but they have that emotional connection to him. And the entire episode is him basically facing every emotional trauma or mistake he's made down the barrel with that internal, basically him trying to make that internal decision himself of, do I deserve to live and get the nth chance, or is this where I die? But the entire time they're filling in jokes, they're making you laugh. And it's like, that's what I'm saying is, to me,
the ending of the sitcom for myself. I'm like, I gotta watch this.
What happened?
I spoiled this. I spoiled the ending of the sitcom for myself by accident, and I'm like, I gotta.
Oh, the ending of BoJack Horseman?
Yeah.
No, and it doesn't end on a happy note. Obviously, if you're reading it, it does not end on a happy note, but it ends on a note that makes sense for the character when you go through the journey of the 7 seasons. Yeah. And to me, it's one of the best because there are definitely laugh out loud moments in it, and it does some really great stuff. They also secured a hell of a recurring cast. Like, they brought a lot of celebrities in to do a lot of stuff on this show.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But it's really, really well done. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who likes drama mixed with comedy, because it does, at the end of the day, it does always go back to the comedic side of things, but it's not afraid, especially when it reached a point of success, which is kind of around season 3, where Netflix kind of gave them carte blanche. They did with them what they did with Big Mouth, which is another Netflix show I love, where they, after season 2,
I really did.
they renewed them for like 4 seasons, and it's just like, go crazy. You know how long you have, go crazy. And they did that with BoJack Horseman, and that's when they started getting more creative, and they really use it. I would, anyone who loves artistic filmmaking but also loves like the traditional sitcom, I really would recommend it. It's a brilliant show.
Yeah, no, hearing that, and then like I said, actually spoiling that for myself. Yeah, it's on my list now. It's definitely gonna be when I get a chance, I will check it out.
No, and the good thing is like it's a comedy drama, but it's all 22-minute episodes. Like they're not exasperately long. They don't do the Netflix thing or like now the Disney Plus thing where it's like 34, 47, 22. Like, no, they're pretty consistent. Okay. Shout out to WandaVision.
Yeah.
Speaking of sitcoms. Huh?
They announced the last 3 episodes are going to be an hour long.
Yeah. Which will certainly be interesting. But yeah, so another one I brought up that I really like is Big Mouth. So not for you. You tried it?
I did try, but I think I've reached a certain point in my life where that type of humor, if it's something that I used to watch, I will still be able to watch it. But that type of humor, it doesn't hit me anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And specifically with me, maybe it helps that like puberty ended 3 years ago at my point in my life. But what I like about it is there's no topic they're afraid to go after. And so this is an interesting kind of thing with the show, like I'll talk about, because we're talking about dramatic stuff, because this is another show that, in my opinion, when it goes dramatic, can do it well, which is weird, because it's like fucking Nick Kroll and John Mulaney. Like, how are they doing this?
Yeah.
But so obviously there was last year when all the Black Lives Matter movement was happening in the country. Jesse, no, that's the character's name. God, what's her name?
Yeah, I remember when it's like the voice actress quit.
Yes. Okay. So, oh God,
it was fucking from Parks and Rec, isn't it?
Jenny Slate. Yeah, John Ralphio's sister. Yeah. Another great show, by the way. Parks and Rec is another brilliant show.
That's top 5 for me.
So basically Jenny Slate quit, and I remember reading that to myself and just thinking, okay, I see where she's coming from, but she's also a voice actress, and she meets, because the character is half white, half black, Jewish descent. So she technically meets the other qualifications of the character. And so just me not understanding it, I was just kind of like, okay, like I can see why she would do that, but I didn't think it was necessary. The character, and the show was written well before any of that movement ever picked up in the way it did in 2020. Her character's arc throughout the season is dealing with her race, ethnicity, and the fact that they have episodes with that character in Atlanta meeting family she hasn't seen in a long time, and it's like the idea of, and there's like an episode about code switching, like acting about different, and it's like her entire arc is basically dealing with her race identity and not understanding half of her identity, because her dad's this professor who's, very traditionally white in terms of how they stereotype the character, the way they write it. And so watching the season, and as far as I'm aware, they left a lot of it the way it originally was. And the moment to me where it struck me is like, I get why she left, is there's a part of the episode where she's ranting to her parents, and because they write a lot of in-jokes, she's like, I'm a half black, half white Jewish girl who doesn't even understand half her heritage, and I'm this and I'm that. And they threw into the joke, and she's like, and I'm voiced by a middle-aged white actress. And it's like, when you hear that joke, it's like, that's a funny joke, but it's like, okay, in the context of everything that was happening while they're still producing the show, I understand why she wanted to leave. I get it. It ended up being a great decision, because the lead writers took it on the head and said, we respect your decision and we want to do this in the best way possible. The person that voices her now wasn't actually an actress. She was one of the staff writers for the show, who helped write for the character.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the replacement on IMDb, but I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, she may be towards the bottom. So she was only in the last 2 episodes of the season, but they wrote the 9th episode. I believe that was the one they rewrote, and they wrote it in such a way where she essentially finds her identity and realizes her identity is an amalgamation truly of all the pieces that make her up. And they do like this whole imagery thing with it. And when she kind of comes to from her imagination, that's when the new voice actress takes over. And they made a whole thing of it. Like they wrote it into the show. And it's like, okay, that's fucking cool. No, like they really did a good job with it. And so it's one of those things where it's like I've recommended it to friends, and it's like, yes, look, on the outskirt, it's a show about sex, it's a show about puberty, it's a show that's making a bunch of sex jokes. You know, Nick Kroll voices a hormone monster who literally carries around a sack of penises with him. Like,
I was like, oh, what am I watching?
it's juvenile as shit, but if you can fight through that, it does bring some interesting perspective to a lot of things. None in the first season so much. That was the juvenile one.
Yeah, that's where I was like, I think after like 4 episodes, I'm like, I'm out.
No. I would say, again, if it's something you're interested in giving a try, if the first season didn't work for you, I would say maybe start in like if you've already seen it, like the first 4 episodes, I would say jump to the end of the first season, maybe the 9th episode, so you can get an idea of the plot. The second season, a lot of the topic they focus on is in relation to like teenage shame. And they bring in David Thewlis to voice the Shame Wizard, and a lot of his stuff is really well done.
Right on. I love David Thewlis.
Yeah, so it was like, and when I heard his voice initially, like, because I watched it back when it first aired, I was like, holy fuck, they got him to come in and do this? All right, like, right on. That's cool. Like, so I've been talking a lot. What are some shows like you guys like, you know, that either the traditional sitcom or that don't fall into it, you know? I'd like to hear you
guys. For me, it's like it's How I Met Your Mother, Parks and Rec, The Office. I'm a big Full House fan. I have been since I'm 2 weeks older than the show. That
makes sense. Okay, so it's see, that to me is a show where it's like I've seen episodes of it and I just go, I get why people who watched it when it aired have a love and affinity for it. Yeah. Not for me.
Oh, yeah. 100%. That's how I feel about a lot of things like Lizzie McGuire and all that jazz. Yeah. I may have been of age, but it definitely flew over my head.
For me, going back to the 80s, Growing Pains, Full House, I want to say Family Ties, but really, my favorite sitcom of all time is Seinfeld. That is never going to change.
And see, with that one, I can watch the bits and love the bits, but when you put it into a whole episode for some reason, it doesn't hold my attention.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever, like, Seinfeld's one of those shows where, like, I've seen bits and pieces of it when it's, like, on TV, like, oh, Seinfeld, I'll watch a bit of this. I can't tell you if I've ever seen, like, a multi-episode thing, like, strung together. It's really weird, which I guess makes sense for the show. Which I guess makes sense for the show about nothing, but it's like,
what are some ones, Ben?
What happened?
Friends, you know that.
Oh God, Friends is
I like Third Rock from the Sun, which is fucking hysterical.
Yeah, you know I haven't seen it, and you know that's one that is sitting there on my list.
What haven't you seen?
Third Rock from the Sun. Like, here's the thing.
I've never seen it either. The John Goodman one, right?
Episodes.
No,
John Lithgow. John Lithgow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the occasional episode here or there, but it's not one I watched every week when it was on.
We're doing that.
Well, no. So I was gonna say, since we've kind of talked in about certain bits of certain shows, I don't know how recently it's been since you guys have seen Friends. Fears. Okay. So it happened to be on the TV the other day, and I just kind of watched and caught a couple of episodes. Now, in saying this, I love the actor I'm about to reference. I love everything he's been in since. I like stuff he was in before, and I actually do like him in the show. It's not just me, though, that thinks they really, really wasted Paul Rudd in those 2 seasons he's a part of the show, right? Like, they had him for 2 years, essentially, on that show, and they do almost nothing with his character.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, honestly, compared to everybody else, there isn't that much memorable stuff with him. Like, obviously, if you're a Friends fan, you think Paul Rudd, usually the first thing that pops in your head is Princess Consuelo Banana Hammock, and he changes his name to Crap Bag. Like, outside of that, though, and also the ping pong thing with Monica. That's really
right. Yeah. That was one of the episodes I saw. That's where, yeah.
To be fair, he wasn't Paul Rudd yet. And come down to how
he wasn't. I guess you're
But by that point, he'd already done Clueless.
He'd already
Wet Hot American Summer.
Okay.
I'm on IMDb. Let's bring up what Paul Rudd did before then.
I was going to say, I'm hopping on because I'm curious to see what Hattie had done.
And if I'm not mistaken, that would be around the time that series show ended is when they started filming 4-Year-Old Virgin.
He was in Anchorman too.
Yes.
Anchorman.
Okay, so where is Friends on here? So Friends is still 2 to 4. Okay, so prior to that, he had done let's see, Clueless, which was his first big breakout. He did Halloween 6. He was in the Leo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
He also did Wet Hot American Summer, like I mentioned, but that one is more of a cult thing. Like you have to, and that's really it. So he wasn't Paul Rudd, but he had done things prior.
Right, to that. He would have been.
He was the coolest guy. Which, for the record, kind of still creeps me out how him and what's his face got together, but that's just me.
Him and Phoebe.
And no. I'm talking in Clueless, like how him and his stepsister. I don't know. I looked at that. I'm like, that's a little weird.
Man, he looked the same. Have we all acknowledged he looked the same?
Oh, motherfucker drinks the blood of children. Like he hasn't aged a day.
Dude,
he is. How old is he now? He's
51.
Yeah. He's a year younger than my mother.
He doesn't look it.
No.
Like think about it. He's like 3 years younger than Robert Downey Jr. and everyone looks at him like, oh yeah, it makes sense why he retired from superheroes. Meanwhile, Paul Rudd's like, I'm just getting started. Like,
But no, you're right. And in a way, it like looking at Paul Rudd now, it seems like he was wasted. But true. Ben also brought up a good point. He wasn't Paul Rudd at that point.
He wasn't. No, and you're right.
He wasn't Anchorman Paul Rudd. He wasn't This Is Us. This is 40 Paul Rudd. Sorry. This isn't Ant-Man. Like this isn't the Paul Rudd we know.
True. And it is funny because like you mentioned that, and honestly, Friends was kind of the start of that run because right after he had Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up.
Yeah, he went straight from Friends to Anchorman, and then
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He was in
the year after that. Yeah, he also was in the Night Museum as a supporting character, but he was in that as well.
Was he in that?
Yeah, he plays the stepdad.
Oh no shit! I haven't seen that in years.
That, about a month ago. Okay. Oh yeah, he was also in Walk Hard, which is a movie I really need to go back and watch.
Who was he in that film?
He was John Lennon. Because every time I try to do, it's funny. Every time I try to do a John Lennon impression, usually it's kind of based on Paul Rudd's thing.
Paul Rudd's.
Imagine. Yeah.
I want to bring something else up. Hold on.
So what are some other shows? While Ben's pulling it up, what are some other shows you guys like?
Well, looking back, like I mean, I was a big fan of Supernatural, but it kind of lost me probably around season 11 after I just kind of got tired of it. But the first 5 seasons are great.
It went for what, 15 years? 11 to 15 is not bad.
5, so yeah, 15 years.
Not bad.
And also, like as a Canadian, Corner Gas is so funny.
I know what that is.
It's on Hulu. It's basically just a 22-minute sitcom about just life in a small prairie town.
Okay, look at this picture. Joaquin Phoenix and Keanu Reeves. They were in a movie together.
Parenthood.
Yep. Keanu Reeves looks like he aged 5 days. Joaquin Phoenix looks like he aged 45 years.
Well, the thing is, with Joaquin Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken, he had issues.
To be fair, though, and I realized this as much as I enjoyed the movie, I realized this watching Bill and Ted Face the Music. Yeah. The beard does a lot for Keanu.
Yes, I'm with you there. It was so weird seeing him without the beard.
Because I remember watching that film and thinking, because I remember seeing pictures of them before it, and I just remember thinking, wow, this is going to look really weird. Because Alex Winter looks like he's aged roughly what the character should, and Keanu looked younger. And I was like, that's going to be really weird. And then I saw the first trailer, and I remember we were talking about it before we did an episode of our show on TMG After Dark. where I just remember we were talking about the trailer, and I was just like, okay, so I'm not the only one who thought Keanu looked a bit like bootleg Severus Snape, right? Like something about that just didn't look right because he had the hair, he had the aging face.
He looked bloated, but yeah, red Severus Snape's pretty fucking funny.
Like it was just weird looking at him, but it worked because okay, now he actually kind of looks his age. But it's amazing what just shaving a beard would do for him.
Yeah. And then the last one I'm going to bring up in what I like, Home Improvement. For years, that was my favorite show, and I still laugh at all the shit that Tim does. Hands down, one of my favorite jokes is there's an episode where, again, Tim says something that he's not supposed to, but in this instance, he had his camcorder with him because he was supposed to tape a speech that Jill did. And so he goes to the hardware store after the fact, and he's talking about how it's boring. I might be mixing two episodes here, but as usual, Tim does something stupid.
Right, yeah.
He does the stupid thing on the show, and he talks about how women are like hens, always. And now the home side of the episode is Jill had actually dropped her wedding ring down the furnace vent. So that episode of Tool Time airs. He's down in the basement getting his boys to drop tennis balls down the thing. And Jill walks in and she's in a bad mood, and the boys are like, "You didn't watch the show today, did you?" She's like, "Yeah, at school in front of everybody." So she's standing there, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" "Oh, Dad just is trying to get your ring out, so we're dropping balls down there." "Oh, really?" She grabs a fucking croquet ball. Ow! "Hi, Tim." "Hi, honey. And then you cut to him, and he wises up, and he puts a football helmet on. And then you do the conversation again. He's like, "Okay, maybe she's not going to draw it." So he takes off the football helmet, all the ear. Boom! Ow!
Out of all those like 90s sitcoms, I think Home Improvement's the one I've seen least of. Just because I don't know where it is on streaming, so it's just always if I happen to catch.
I'm lucky I own all the seasons.
Yeah, so it's more just like I happen to catch episodes when it used to really air on TV. Yeah. And it is funny. It is also interesting looking back on it, and not to go controversial, but amid recent controversy with Disney, it is funny that Tim Allen's made 4 films with them.
Oh yeah, well, more than that.
Oh yeah, Santa Claus or Disney, aren't they?
Yeah. So Santa Claus movies are close. He's done, what was the one he did? Old Dogs? No, Old Dogs was in that one. He did
no, that was John Travolta.
The Shaggy Dog.
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay, so point taken. But I was gonna say to me, I've seen more of his more recent show, Last Man Standing, which I like it. I think it's solid, but it honestly kind of feels like his just attempt to try and redo something like Home Improvement, but like not quite the same.
But yeah, it definitely veers on the other side of the spectrum of things. Like when it comes to Tim Allen, this is the only political thing I'm ever going to say in the show is I personally don't care if you're a conservative leaning person or if you're a liberal leaning person. What have you? Think the way you think, but it's when you start doing shit like what Gina Carano does and stuff like that, then I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Tim Allen, I've got no problem with him being a conservative.
No, he's
yeah, because I like me personally, I've got some traditional conservative values.
Yeah.
So I mean, as long as you like, there are some things in there that you can believe that don't really hurt anybody. It's when you start doing things to hurt somebody, then I'm like,
yeah. Sorry, this is about sitcoms, not politics. What the fuck? You know what? Let's do it.
Tim Allen, it doesn't bother me.
Let's do it the sitcom way. Let's go and get a famous cameo, and we'll do a big audience cheer. Let's do it. Who's available? Who wants to hop on?
There's one sitcom I would be remiss if I didn't bring up. Boy Meets World from the 90s.
Now, this is going to sadden people. I've actually seen more of the sequel show than I have of the original.
I've only seen the reunion episodes from the sequel because that's all I ever cared about was seeing the guys come back.
Yeah, to me, it's one of those shows where, and Disney's had a couple of those over the last couple of years, where they start a show with a really good concept, and they start it off on a path where it's like, they can do something more here than just the Disney shtick. And then it ends up falling into the Disney shtick. Like another one that I've seen, I don't remember the name of it, but I've seen passing episodes of it because I have younger siblings and they watch Disney Channel. Disney did a show that where the main concept of it was like a girl finds out that the woman who she thinks is her mother is actually her grandmother, and the woman she's always thought was her sister, is actually her mother. Like they kept it a secret because she had her as a teenager.
Sounds like Jack Nicholson.
And that's like the original baseline for the show, is like the adjusting of the relationships. Yeah. And then it goes on to bring in the father back into the picture and trying to establish. And then on top of that, the show also became the first Disney show to have a character come out of the closet on it.
What show is this?
I forget the name of the show. I don't know it offhand, but I know they did all this on one show. And the problem with the show is I've seen episodes from earlier in it and then later in it. And even though it was, being progressive in that sense of what it was doing, they eventually just roped it into the same Disney kind of shtick. And it's like, okay, you started off with something that could have been really cool and just took it the most traditional route you could.
I'm not a big fan of the Disney stick. Like I honestly, like a lot of those shows from that time when I would have been like a teenager, like That's So Raven.
None of it stuck with me.
But like That's So Raven, the spin-off show Corey in the House within the White House.
God. That was
like that. The overacting they do and the constant hamming up for the camera, even if it's a bad joke. I hate that type of acting.
Yeah. The one stick that I hate from Nick, from Disney, from any kid show, I hate how stupid they make the parents.
I mean, they have to. They have to. Like, one of the shows I like, I think Nick was slightly better with their shows than Disney. One of the shows that I do like is Drake and Josh, and it's a show that is very guilty of both what you said and what Ben said.
That's another one that missed me because I didn't, at the time, we didn't have Nick up here. And from the clips I did see, and it's like, yeesh. Josh is trying a little too hard, my friend.
He got better the skinnier he got. He learned over time.
Yeah, and I will say he does a guest role in Fuller House that I fucking love. He plays your stereotypical hippie vegan that becomes
you know what?
Stamos.
You know why they did that, right?
Because he's friends with John Stamos.
Yeah, because they were on their show.
They did a show together.
Yeah, and they actually are really good friends in real life.
Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
Funny enough, my very first exposure to Josh, I can't. What's his last name?
Peck.
Josh Peck. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, my very first exposure to him wasn't on a comedy. It was from a movie that I randomly came across on TV, which I'm going to look it up. But basically, it's a bottleneck episode where he plays the bully, and the kids that he bullies, they invite him on a rafting trip and with the plan to kill him.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
What is this?
I'm looking it up right now. I just randomly found it on Mean Creek. It's a movie called Mean Creek. I just randomly found it on TV one day on one of the super channels. But yeah, when a teen is bullied, his bullies and friends lured the bully into the woods to seek revenge, and they end up killing him.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Jesus!
Yeah. It actually was a pretty good movie. I haven't seen it since, but yeah, it's definitely a really good character piece on bullying.
Holy shit!
Years ago, yeah.
That did not go where I expected that to go. Wow.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay, well, I hate to cut it short, but because we normally just do this show for about an hour, and
please,
you have to come on again because honestly, this was one of the best conversations I think we've ever had. Would you agree, man?
Thank you.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely so seamless. Like, I mean, dear Lord. All right, so where can everybody find you, Aaron? Now, what is your Twitter handle? Because I couldn't find it apparently.
I don't have Twitter. I don't use Twitter. I probably should.
Why I couldn't find you?
Yeah, I probably should, but I don't. Probably the social media I use most is my Instagram, which is what he has down below there, Aaron T. Connole. It'd probably be smart to set up Twitter, if anything, but I don't have one currently. Where you guys can find me, if any of it interests you, TMG Entertainment. We have a connecting channel, TMG Trivia, where all our trivia goes up to, but TMG Entertainment specifically, we're working to really try and start a show sector. Do you mind if I plug quickly? I don't want to be that guy, but yeah. So we have different shows going up every week. We have from lots of different varieties. We have my show, SchmoesTalk, which is a Schmoedown interview kind of style show. Right now, we're working on a series where we're going back and recapping some of the previous seasons. So you can go check that out. We just did seasons 1 and 2. Ben was actually on our 3rd episode ever. He was on talking about a piece of the draft that happened with his Mount Schmoedown guys. And yeah, it's a show where we're looking to reach out to not only, the players that people want to see, but we also want to talk to fans. So like knowing that you're a part of a show definitely makes the connection where I'd love to have you guys on and as individuals or as a team, because it's certainly an interesting discussion. But we have that. We have After Dark, which is our weekly kind of variety show. It's just a bunch of people associated with the channel hop on a mic, talk for a couple hours on Saturday night. We have
your version of Gucciverse.
Basically, we've had Kaiser on a number of times actually, and it's gone down that. And Gucci was on, but that was before I was a part of the show. But they had him on.
You got us beat there. We've never had Gucci on.
Yeah, they got him when they were like first starting. Like I don't know how they must have slid into a stranger's DMs and got Gucci. Like I don't know how that happened, but so they had him on. I've heard it was a trip. Like it was something else. Even I met him briefly in person at the Orlando show, and even that was a bit of a trip. And that was backstage where he wasn't trying. It was just no. So we have that. Just to kind of quickly finish off. We have a show called The Supernova Show, which is hosted by a member of the community, Colton Roberts. It's a geek-related show. We have a wrestling podcast. We have which is currently on hiatus, unfortunately, because our host has been a little under the weather. We have a football-related podcast. We have recently started, two of our members started a political podcast. And we also recently started doing more stuff like trailer reactions and things like that, just kind of keeping ourselves invested in the world. So if any of that interests you guys, TMG Entertainment is the channel. Be sure to subscribe, and hopefully we do something that pleases you guys.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking at the wrestling thing because, like, I'm the only one in my group of friends that it comes close to liking wrestling, so I don't get to talk about all that much. So I hear a wrestling podcast. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben.
You guys can find me at my Twitter at BenRadio2 every Friday with Matt on Recapping the Past. Every Saturday on the flagship show, Get Ready, with 50 Shades of Geek and Open Soul. Also on Saturday, my SchmoesTalk show, Mount SchmoesTalk, on my other YouTube channel on Sunday. Ben's Hot Takes, and every Thursday, Shooting the Breeze right here. I think that's everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then as Ben already plugged the shows that I'm on here, so I'm just going to leave that alone. You can also find me. I just realized I'm not Shades Geek. But anyways, you can find me at Instagram at soda_the_saxman. You can also find me, like I said, Ben plugged everything here. You can also find me on the other YouTube channel, Schmoes of the North, where we do break down what's going on in the Schmoedown. We are going live tomorrow after the pay-per-view, so definitely check your YouTube subscriptions for that. And then also with Northern Consultations and all that stuff. We don't have anything coming down the pike on that one, unfortunately, but always look out for new episodes. And of course, I don't do stereo all that much just because my three co-hosts are all on the East Coast, so when they're ready to do it, I'm still working. So if you actually look them up, Schmoes of the North, I believe, has their own stereo account, so definitely check that out as well. So yes, thank you very much, Aaron. I really enjoyed this conversation. I do want to have you back on, and yes, anytime you want myself and any of the other guys on SchmoesTalk, we will gladly be on, and vice versa. The door is always open on our end as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we'll talk.
For sure. All right. Well, everyone, you take care. You stay safe out there no matter where you are. And don't forget, everybody, smash cancer and